Hello, New York. Hi, guys. Welcome back to the Hangover series. My apartment is oddly quiet right now. It's so silent in here. I feel like we haven't talked in a while, so let's catch up. I feel like nothing too exciting has been going on, but I did write a few things down that I feel like we need to discuss and talk about, because I don't know if I just attract weird things and weird vibes and weird people, or if I was just made to have weird interactions. But I feel like sometimes the weirdest things happen to me and other people agree that the weirdest things happen to me, so it's just a part of who I am. And first of all, the other day I had a doctor's appointment because I needed to get doctors here. Obviously, since I live here, I needed to go find a new doc. And so I ordered an Uber to go to the doctor, and I think the Ubers that were taking me to the doctor and picking me up thought I was extremely ill or something, but I wasn't. It was just a checkup. And the first Uber was you smell oddly good to be going to the doctor. And I'm like, really? Which also, people have been telling me I smell really good lately, and I have been doing the same thing that I've been doing for the past, couple of months, I feel like. So let me know if you guys want to know what I'm spraying on myself, because I actually have been getting a lot of people saying that I smell extremely delicious, and I don't know, maybe it's just, staying on my body a different way than it was before, or people are just wanting to tell me that I smell good. I don't know. But anyways, that happened. That wasn't really a weird interaction. I feel like he was just being kind. And then when I got picked up from the doctor, though, this is where it gets a little interesting. So I get picked up from the doctor, and my Uber just, started having a casual conversation with me, and then he starts telling me about the time that he was hospitalized. And I'm like, okay, guess I'm here to listen. And then he's like, one time when I was in the hospital, I was super constipated, and he just starts telling me about him being constipated. And you know what? I'm all for people being an open book, but what? I don't know. I just wasn't prepared to have this conversation, and it was taking a lot in me to not just burst out laughing. I was trying to be a very supportive passenger. And yeah, he just was getting really into detail about his constipation, and I was just okay, yeah, I'm glad you're okay now. I'm glad you're feeling better. I don't know, what do you even say to that? So it was very interesting. And then, we got home to my house, and then I was just well, I hope, you're never hospitalized for that again. And, I'm never going to see him again, but I just know what he was hospitalized for. And part of me wanted me to tell him, I wouldn't share this with other passengers. I guess it's chill that you shared this with me, but I wasn't really enjoying that conversation. Is there a way to interrupt someone that's telling you that about them, that part of their life? I don't think you're allowed to be stop talking. Don't tell me this, I don't think that's a thing. So I just had to take it. In. But that was definitely one of the weirdest Uber experiences I've had. Another weird Uber experience I've had here, besides my Uber share stories, which I think the other day when I was coming home from the bar, I think I had an Uber share with someone I've had an Uber share with before, but I don't really remember. But it was I think it was the same guy, but I'm not actually sure. But another weird Uber experience that I've had, since I'm on the topic of Ubers, is one time here I ordered an Uber, and the guy picks me up. Well, it was taking him a weird amount of time to get here, because it kept saying that he was on the street, but I could not find him. And then it would say he was doing a lap, and then he would you're getting what I'm saying. And so that was interesting. And then I was just wait, are you here? And then he finally was there, and then he got out of the car when I got there, and he was checking the tires. And then he's like, okay, we're good. You can get in. And so I get in, and then we're driving, and his tire is making an extremely weird sound. And I'm like, oh my God, what? And I've had multiple flat tires before. So, I know what it feels like. It's not fun to have a flat tire. Personally, I don't know how to change a flat tire. I'll definitely look into that. But I just pull over to the side of the road and like call whoever you call. He just like kept driving, and it was getting flatter and flatter, and we had like a 20-minute drive to wherever the fuck I was going, and he just kept driving with this flat tire, and it was like low-key scary. Like, people were like honking at him. He's just minding his own business. I think he was probably thinking like, this girl has no idea I have a flat tire, but like, I did know he had a flat tire. I just didn't know how to be like, sir, I can get another Uber, because he must have needed to get his money the fuck up, because why else would he be driving his vehicle on a flat tire with a passenger in it, I got where I needed to go safely. I didn't question it, and I was like, I could tell on him, but I'm not going to, because I assume someone else will if that like becomes a problem. And for all I know, like, maybe I was his last Uber, and then he was going to the tire place. I also found out last night as I was painting my toenails, because I have a at-home shellac machine that I like to paint my nails with. It saves you a lot of money. So if you're ever like thinking about getting a shellac machine for yourself, I definitely recommend it. It was a great purchase. But I was painting my toenails last night, and my left toenail is just like basically gone. And I'm confused. I feel like, it's like kind of there, but like it's not, like if someone looked at my toe, they'd be like, she doesn't have a left toenail. And I never thought this would be a problem that I had in my life. And I don't know where it went. Like, is it at a bar? Is it at the grocery store? Like, where is my left toenail? Where did she go? She left me. That's not very cool. But I texted my friend about it. She also doesn't have a left pinky toenail, and she said she just like paints over it and just like pretends it's an illusion, which I'm all for, but I'm just like, that would have been nice if my toenail had said a goodbye, or like told me this was gonna occur. I'm assuming that it has to do with the black pointy heels that I have that have hurt my feet tremendously. I feel like they took her away from me. But that's an update if you guys wanted to know about my toe. I don't have a left pinky toenail anymore. So if you don't have one either, just know we're in that together. And it's very heartbreaking, and I know that some people get like acrylics on their toenails, so maybe I'll have to look into that if it gets very serious on the toenail. Okay, but some more things that we need to discuss are the 15% Cosmos that they have at Trader Joe's. So basically, my friend and I went to a birthday party, and we brought and drank these like 15% Cosmos that they have at Trader Joe's. And like, that's like a big percentage for an alcoholic beverage, which I was like aware of, but it tasted so good. And the Cosmos are in like these little baby cans, so it's like super quick to drink. And I don't know, like, I knew that it said they were 15%, so I just like assumed it would obviously get me feeling how I needed to feel. But like, if you're gonna drink those, guys, like, I do recommend them. They tasted like juice, but maybe don't drink all 4 like we did, like drinking 4 of those plus shots, they definitely got us. Wait, maybe we didn't drink all 4. I think we drank 3. I think we just drank 3, but like, still, drinking all 3 of those plus taking shots, like, just be careful. But you should definitely try them, because they were super delicious, but super scary. Delicious and scary. That's kind of a good combination, but not when you're in public. Another thing that I remembered the other day as well was that, this is like a super random story, but when I was like 4 years old, and I like kind of remember this, like I remember the story, but like kind of remember it happening, but when I was like 4 years old, one of my neighbors like came over to hang out or something. I don't know the context of what was going on. All I know is that she came over to hang out with me, and I think she was like in between the age of me and my sister, and I guess she wanted to hang out with my older sister for some reason, and my sister must have been like busy. I don't really know what was going on, but basically she punched me in the face, and like it's really funny now when I think about it, but I just can't imagine, like, apparently she like socked me in the face like as hard as she could. And like, what? Can you imagine me as a little 4-year-old just getting like socked in the face by like some 6-year-old? Like, are 6-year-olds allowed to go to jail? I like asked my mom, I'm like, did you like call her parents up and be like, your daughter just punched my child in the face? Like, that's concerning. And like, did I ever hang out with her again? I'm pretty sure we like continued to hang out with this girl. Like, that's crazy. That is crazy. But yeah, basically, I don't know why I wanted to share that, but I got punched in the face when I was 4 years old. So you 4-year-olds out there, stay careful, be aware, and start taking karate right now, because apparently 6-year-olds like to punch 4-year-olds in the face. I don't know. Just be careful. Not that there's any like child listening to this, but you never know. I don't know. Kids like go on iPads these days at like the age of 6 months old. So I don't know what's going on out there. For all we know, there's like a 2-year-old that has a podcast and is talking to other 2-year-olds. Like, we don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. Okay? I don't know what's going on at all. I also wanted to discuss some of the crazy things that people have said to me this week. So, first off, some guy commented on like one of my Instagram reels, and I was like, who is this? Because I was like, this looks like one of my ex-boyfriend's friends, but I didn't like click on the profile. I just like saw the name and was like, that name looks familiar. And his comment was like sarcastic, kind of mean. But like, you know, when a man says like any words to you that's like kind of rude and sarcastic, you're like, are you hitting on me or are you being like genuinely mean? You like never know, because men just like don't make any sense. So sometimes a man's way of flirting with you is being mean, and he's like, no, I was like in love with you, and you're like, you literally called me a whore. And he's like, I was in love with you, and you're like, you literally slept with my best friend. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. So basically I just ignored it, and then I was like, wait, I think I know who this man is. And basically this man that commented this like weird little hate sarcasm comment on the Hangover series is like one of my ex-boyfriend's friends, which is really interesting to me, because me and that ex-boyfriend only dated for like 3 months, like 2 years ago, unless I'm doing my math wrong, but it feels like forever ago. I only did it for like 3 months, so it wasn't that serious. But welcome to the podcast. You can keep leaving the weird comments, because I think it helps with my engagement, so keep it up, please. I appreciate all the love and all the hate. Another weird thing that I had happen this week, obviously I was promoting my sister's music on Instagram per usual, because we support our siblings out here, and I had a man text me that was asking me if I would come visit him in Arizona. So earlier in the week, he's like trying to get me to come see him, whatever. Then he texts me after I post my sister's song on my story, and he said, is Naylin your sister? And I'm like, yes. And then he said, because she's so talented, so there's no way that you two are related. I think if maybe someone said that to me like a long time ago, I would have been offended. But like at this point, it's like really funny, because one, like, who says that to someone? Like, that's just straight up rude as fuck. And two, like, just like, who says that to someone? Like, that's crazy to text someone, especially someone that you're like begging to come visit you in your little state, say that's crazy that we're related because she's so much more talented. Like, babe. Also, I think it's so funny when people like find out that my sister is a really talented singer, and then they like try to compare me to her, because it's like, one, we're like, also like, why do I always, whenever I'm like going off, I'm always like 1, 2, and 3, like I'm always like whatever. Anyway, it's like we're different people, so I don't really know why you're comparing us, and we're also siblings, so it's even weirder. But like, why are people ever comparing two people? Like, we are different people. Are you aware of that? Like, it's like they're not aware that we're not the same person.
And another thing is, they don't, like, just because I am not coming out with singles and albums of me singing every single day, like, that doesn't mean I can't sing. Can I just, like, say that? Like, just because I'm not pursuing singing as my career doesn't mean I have no talent and doesn't mean I can't sing. It's just wild to me that these weird men keep coming at me, you know? It's like, when's the next one gonna happen? And when it happens, I just, like, it doesn't even affect me because it's happened so many times in my life that I'm like, okay, this is literally old news. Like, thank you for that. There's the hate of the week. We love it. We freaking love it. But what I really wanted to talk about today was living alone in your 20s and all that jazz. As you guys know, I'm living alone and I'm in my 20s, and I'm actually about to get a roommate for my next apartment, and I'm very excited about it. I'm actually pumped. I'm really excited to get a roommate. I think it will be really fun to just have someone that you, like, are already with and you can, like, do everything with, and it's just exciting to do that. But I also think it's really fun that I had the opportunity right out of college to live alone, and it has been really fun to do, and I feel like it happened at the perfect timing, and it's just been great. So basically, when I graduated and when I decided, like, I'm moving tomorrow, I feel like so many people have been like, oh my God, are you getting a roommate? Oh my God, are you gonna live with friends? Oh my God, are you gonna live with a cousin? Like, everyone's first question is like, who are you living with? Who are you living with? And it's like, whoa. First of all, whoa. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna live alone. And every time you say, like, oh, I'm gonna go live alone, or I'm living alone, or when people even ask, like, who's your roommate? And you're like, I live alone, they kind of look at you like you're insane, which I think is kind of, like, interesting because, I don't know, like, when I wanted to live alone. Like, that's what I wanted to do because I just, like, wanted my own space where I could come home after work, even though I work from home, could come home after work and just, like, sit with my thoughts and just be alone and, like, wake up and blast whatever music I wanted to blast. I can talk to myself as much as I want to. I am just, like, picking up my own habits and just evaluating my life and myself, and that's, like, really what I needed to do at that time in my life. And so for me, like, I just really wanted to live alone. And yeah, another thing that I am obsessed with is that when I was younger, which this might be, like, funny to you guys, but when I was younger, I was obsessed with Pottery Barn. I wanted to be an interior designer so bad. I was obsessed with Pottery Barn. It was my life. I was looking through every kind of furniture and, like, Pottery Barn and every little website that sold furniture, like, every single day. I was obsessed with furniture, and I would always, like, make little things of, like, what I wanted my room to look at, or what I wanted my room to look like, what I wanted my house to look like all these random things. And I was always moving my furniture around in my room. Like, my mom even says, like, every single day my furniture would be in a new position. Like, my bed would be on the other side, my desk would be somewhere else. Like, everything was just moved around, and I'm, like, this little 7-year-old just, like, pushing shit around in my room. Like, also shout out her, because how was I so strong? Not sure. I don't know how I was moving a dresser with a bunch of clothes in it, and I can barely do that now, but, like, iconic. Anyways, I was obsessed with furniture, and one of the things that I was most obsessed with at that age was the beds, where they have the bed on top and then below is the desk, and then you have a ladder to climb up to your bed. I was obsessed with it. They're, like, pretty expensive, but I always wanted it. It was always on my Christmas list. I never got it, which I'm honestly kind of thankful for, because I think I would have only liked it for a couple of years. Like, I wouldn't have wanted that in high school, but I was obsessed with it. And when I chose my first apartment to live in by myself, I, like, honestly didn't really know what I was doing, and I didn't really know what areas to live in Chicago or anything. And I didn't really ask anyone any questions that lived here, because I just, like, wanted to decide and figure it out by myself. So I kind of just went with an apartment that I liked what it looked like. And so I live in a studio apartment, and when you walk in here, everyone's always like so amazed by it. So maybe I'll give a little apartment tour, but you walk in and basically there's a ladder and it's blue. I'm pretty sure some of the ladders in here are pink, which I'm like super jealous of, but you walk in and it's blue. It's like a baby blue. And then you walk up and then my bed is like in what is considered a loft area, but it's just my bed up there. I could have like put a rug up there. I like always thought about doing that. I just never did. But yeah, you basically just walk up this ladder and then my bed is in the ceiling. And I was like, what is the biggest bed that you can fit up there? Because I don't want to fall off into a crevice. So if it's a queen size bed and it's really cozy and comfy up there, honestly. But I have had people like hit their heads on the ceiling and people get really scared when they crawl up there. They're like, how do you do this when you're drunk? I'm like, I don't know, actually. I've never been scared of sleeping up there. But anyways, the other day I was having like a full circle moment because like the layout of this is basically what I was obsessed with when I was like 7, 8 years old. And it was like my dreams to have that in my little girl bedroom, and now I basically get to have it in my big girl bedroom. And that might seem so stupid to someone, but like for me, realizing that I like accidentally gave my little girl child self like one of her dreams at 8 years old was to have that bed set up, and now I have it at 23 years old, and I have the climb up ladder with the bed, and below is like my desk and kitchen and everything else. Like that was a full circle moment for me, and I thought that was really sweet, and it makes me so happy. So yeah, I don't know, like I feel like everything just like comes full circle, and knowing that like heals a little part inside of me, because at first I wasn't like super fond of living in a studio until I found like this loft situation. Then I was like all about it. And now knowing that this was like my dream as a child to have a situation like this, and now I have it, is just so bittersweet. So there's that. Find, I guess, an apartment that your little self would have loved. But also I've just like heard so many older people say, like so many older people that I know that are like married and have kids obviously, and like all the things. I've just heard so many people when they, like the older generation, hear that I live alone, they're like, oh my gosh, like I'm so jealous. Like I never got to do that. Like that's awesome, because I think, you know, obviously back then it was a lot more common to graduate, whatever, and then get married and start raising a family. And now it's like so different than that. But I feel like they like are living vicariously through me, or they just like, you know, they're just like, that's awesome that you're able to do that, because a lot of them went to just like straight out of college with living with friends to living with their boyfriends, getting married, and then living with a whole family. And as much as that might be awesome for some people, you know, I think also it's just like really cool to live alone and live by yourself for a second too, especially because when are you ever going to get to live alone again? Like maybe you will get to at some point in your life, but I feel like now is like the perfect opportunity, because if you do see yourself eventually getting married and like starting a family, or like maybe not even doing that, but like living with friends your whole life, I don't really know what people do, but if you have the opportunity to live with yourself for a second, I just like highly recommend it. Seriously, like when are you ever going to get to do that again? And it's been really fun. I feel like I've became a lot more independent. I think I've always been a pretty independent person, but this has definitely made me even more independent, since obviously I'm doing everything and anything for myself. But I think that's a really good aspect, is having independency, and being independent I think is always great. I think it's also taught me a lot about like how to do like maybe the stupidest shit, but like a lot of things. Like I've learned how to do things that I probably would have just had a roommate do if they knew how to do it, or like a family member do if they knew how to do it, or like my husband or something do if they knew how to do it. So I've like obviously had to learn how to do different things. I'm like trying to think of something off the top of my head, but you know what I'm saying. And I've just like realized a lot about myself and a lot about like my habits, and I've noticed like what some of my terrible habits are. And I think the best part about it is no one's here to be like, that's a really bad habit, or like no one's here to tell me tell me, no one's here to tell me like literally anything, or no one's here to tell me like you should take the trash out, or you should wash that pot before you go to bed, or you should make your bed in the morning. Like nobody's here to tell me that. Like I only have myself to keep me in check and to keep me doing whatever I'm doing. And I think that's kind of cool, and I think it's like a really great learning lesson, and just like a moment where you can reflect on yourself and like really just see how you are as a person, and like what your habits are, and what are you about, and what are you doing, and what do you need to fix about yourself. I also feel like living alone, I have cried the most I've ever cried in my life. Yeah, I feel like when I was living at home, I just have never really been the person that likes to put my problems on other people, or like be sad or show that side of me. It's just makes me like uncomfortable, and I think for a lot of my life I kind of just like hid that side of my life, and just like hid that version of myself, and just kind of kept it to myself, and would like, you know, go to your room and like silently cry, or go in your car and like cry, and like that's fine and whatnot. But living in my own space, I've just been able to like let it all out, and I've had so many nights where I have just like realized things that I think I like blocked out of my memory, or were just trying to block out of my memory. And I've just been able to like really tune into that, and just like cry and let it all out in the comfort of my own space, which I think has been really helpful and really nice to my mental health and just like myself in general. And I think the weirdest part about it is when I would like get really sad when I was living back home, and I would have to cry. Like, it's not that anyone was telling me I had to silently cry in my room. It's just like, I feel like you just don't want other people to hear you cry, or like get in your problems. But I would be like so angry, or like it was more of like a sad cry, angry cry mixed together. And like same with when I would like cry in my car. But like when I'm crying here, it's more of like a reflecting, like it's okay to cry, like you're safe, you're in your own space, like let it out, girl. And it's been really nice to just be able to do that in the comfort of my own home, and just let every single emotion that I am feeling out. I also think it's good because like I don't really have anyone else's like opinions in here, so I've really been able to make this space mine, even though like I didn't do a ton of like crazy shit in here. Like I wanted to get like all these cute martini paintings on the walls. I didn't do that, but you know, it's my space. I have like what I like in here, and so that's been fun to just really make it my own. I also just like reflecting on back what I just said, like I feel like so many people I know have just been like, I never got to live alone, and I don't know if they regret not being able to live alone, but I think it's just like a curiosity thing, like I wonder what that would have been like. So all I have to say is, yes, it might be scary at first to live alone and take that independence, but in my experience, it's just been really rewarding, and I have become so independent. I've learned a lot about myself, and I really like who I'm becoming. So I think it's great. I love it. But with that being said, I'm also really excited to get a roommate and have that new chapter of life enter in now too. I just honestly think for me personally, going from living at home and then living with a roommate that I didn't know, like a random person, something about that just like didn't sit well in my brain. And I know a lot of people do like the random roommate situations, and that's awesome for them. But for me, it just like gave me anxiety, and I just like knew I wouldn't fully be comfortable, and I just didn't want to do that. So I'm really glad that I chose to live alone and picked out my own place and got to do this in my lifetime. So, you know, who knows? Like I could end up living alone again. Like, guys, we don't know if there's a man out there for me. We don't know what's going to happen in the next 25 years of my life, but for now I am happy that I live alone. I'm recommending it to like literally everyone. So if you're scared, just know that it's actually so much fun. You might have some bad habits at first because there's literally no one here. except for yourself, to get you to do everything. Not that when you have a roommate, they're like, make your bed and like yelling at you, but you know what I'm saying. So I'm probably gonna cry when I move out, but I'm kind of just like an emotional person. But I probably am gonna cry because I really like the people that work at my apartment, and I really like my apartment, but I'm definitely also ready for a change considering there was a roach in here. But besides that, it's been great. If there's a witch out there that is tuned in, like, can you manifest that me and my roomie get a really perfect apartment, please? Thank you. But yeah, that's kind of just what I wanted to talk about today. Catch you guys up on my weird toenail sitch and my Uber drivers and all of the in-betweens and what it's like to live alone, and just recommend that you do it while you can. Thank you all for tuning in. I will catch you guys next week.